Thank you very much, Milosh. The way I kind of summarize this, Tim, is it feels like two teams that are always full of promise to some degree. Like, everyone's got high hopes. You know, we spoke about NIP as like, oh, they've got fantasy on side. Like, surely they pop off now, right? Right? And they just don't quite get to that level. And I'd really want to see one of these to have a good stage here, make it to an event, kind of right the wrongs of old. But history has a way of kind of repeating itself, and I just struggle to see how either team is going to be one of those top 4 teams come the end of the stage. But if that is going to be proven wrong, it's got to start here in this game.
I agree. Black Dragons are one of those teams that, as an org, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for. When I first started watching competitive Siege way back in, I only missed the first year, way back in 2018. We're talking Ents, Black Dragons, the real sort of originals. Julio was on Black Dragons at the time. He was an absolute nightmare blitz player on Black Dragons, and I kind of got behind him at that point before I got into casting. I used to love watching them, and so I've always had a bit of a soft spot there for them. And like you say, we've watched them for years now sort of sit around that mid to lower half of the table a lot of the time, and you just feel like is now the moment? Is this going to be the one? I mean, We've got some names on there. They've got some ability there. But, yeah, you just never know with these two.
All right. Well, Tim, either we're going to see Black Dragons play the map and win it for the first time as far back as my data runs, or we're going to see NIP break a horrific losing streak of 133 days since winning this map. Has to change for one of the two teams. It is a record-breaking map either way. Let's see how things shape up. Black Dragons starting things off down in the basement. I'd say comp overall actually looking quite Rome heavy. I was going to say Machina coming out on the Bandit here. You can instantly see those, or immediately see, sorry, that those electrifications have gone down on this top floor. They're looking to slow NIP down. And look back to our main criticism of NIP historically, Tim, dangerously slow. We even said to them, you guys are really struggling with the clock at the moment. It's a question we asked in interviews a couple of years ago, and they were like, we know, we're working on it. Bearing in mind this was back when Psycho was on the team, but it's kind of like followed the team around like a bad smell for a while. They're definitely improved in that regard, but I like here how Black Dragons are trying to put up this obstacle of time in front of NIP and saying you've got to get over this first step before you can even think about a gunfight with us.
Going to have to do that top floor clearance here are NIP. They've got 3 at the minute of Black Dragons are up there. I mean, there is, of course, always the option of just going direct to site, but if they're going to do that, they need to be aware that Black Dragons don't read into it and just start raining down on them from above. So at the minute, NIP kind of shaping themselves up to just get in control of Kitchen, but there you start to see the problem. They're going to struggle to get that hatch open because logistics, the floor is shot out, and they're just going to keep firing those Escaros pellets off. I don't know. It's the oldest trick in the book. It's the oldest trick in the book, and they should know better.
And Machina has just come down main stairs, swung on towards... Fantasy should know so much better. But they have gone straight towards site. Indeed, Plant is going down. Khan's looking to stick it here. No Candela's flying on through, but this is where Black Dragons have now got to come and retake the site. The beauty of this strategy, you've got the verticals to work with, assuming they were opened up. But NIP are in a good position here, Tim. A 4 versus 3, make that down to a 3 versus 2. As trades are going back and forth, and surely they come out on top here as there's only Machina left standing.
The problem that NIP have got here in holding this post plant is that I'm pretty sure that the hatch wasn't open. We saw the Escaros pellets being shot off it repeatedly, so they can't use the vertical to defend this top floor plant. They had to do it from on site, so Wizard able to pick up that final kill. But in all honesty, I can't really praise either of the teams there, Des. It was a round of mistakes. NIP go in and start trying to open Kitchen hatch. I don't know. They're just trying to, I'm not even going to give them the benefit of the doubt. The bit of me's thinking, were they just doing that to just play with Black Dragons and keep them busy, just give them something to do whilst they walked in and started putting the diffuser down? That'd be the best way of looking at it, I guess.
I agree. I do agree, and I was thinking that at the time as well.
I'm not 100% sure that's the case, to be honest, because the reason that I say that is having that kitchen hatch open, even if you don't use it to drop to get the plant down, as I said in the post plant, once that plant is down, holding onto kitchen hatch, holding it from above is by far and away the best way to hold that post plank. You just get somebody on the hatch, make sure that they don't get challenged, and you keep a hold of it. So for me, that is definitely we would have liked to have had kitchen hatch open. They've managed, and this is where I say then it's a mistake on Black Dragon's side. So NIP struggled to get the hatch open that they want, but Black Dragons let them walk into sight, I assume through dirt tunnel, and just put the diffuser down. So, you know, yeah, not ideal from both sides for me.
Not the dream start, although there is now a change up from Black Dragon. Still looking to waste a lot of time here, but I'm looking more towards Rare on the Clash, Tim. Great way of matching off against shields on the other side. Bring your own shield. And of course, Clash has had the changes that she's had. Still able to do quite a lot of work. Doesn't do damage anymore, mind you. However, in a position where it can slow down, feed information back and forth, and of course with it now being a deployable that you can place down, you can use that to get over sideswipe onto an enemy shield player, assuming, of course, you can mind gain them. And truthfully, at this level, NIP, with the kind of communication, coordination, drone work that you expect, they shouldn't be getting blindsided by it. But, Tim, we've seen crazier things happen.
Already good progress coming in from the attackers of NIP here. We said beforehand, historically, as an org, obviously the team has largely changed now, but we've quite often seen them over the years struggling with time, being a little bit too slow. So I like to see this. Inside the first minute, they've got Garage, they've put pressure onto CCTV, they've forced the players back from Cash. They can start taking that territory now, which they're already doing. We can see that Wizard is ahead of Cons, who was coming in with the Blackbeard. So they've taken that ground, they've taken what's available to them. They can now start pressuring construction. This is really good quick progress from NIP on a bedroom attack.
And given we were concerned earlier on about their pacing, it is looking good. You're right, half the round's gone and they're already in a good position. Still, have to make sure you hold on to it is the key thing here. So keep an eye on any Black Dragons players that find themselves skirting down through the ground floor, trying to come up red stairs, for example, and cause bother. For now, it looks like no one is. Although I say that, you've got Hornet who's being a little bit of a nuisance out towards the junkyard side, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, working his way back through strip. So it could be a bit of an X factor for them here, but needs to be a little bit closer to sight at this point, it's fair to say. I think he's trying to find someone either on a run out or off through one of the softballs, but pretty hard pressed to do so, I think, especially when NIP are about to hit sight.
Yep, we're going to see the utility starting to rain in piece after piece after piece, but that could be an important play from the Azami. Just slowing things down a little bit there, forcing them to take down the keeper barricade. 50 seconds left to go. Wizard manages to find Machina. Advantage NIP. They've got a lot of the ground. The one thing they haven't done is open Jacuzzi wall, and we've seen it be problematic in the past. It means that Black Dragons know they can play that corner safely, and that's where the Clash is working with a bit of support. Muzi manages to find Fantasy. 4 versus 4, 30 seconds left to go.
Surely here, NIP have got the tools to get it done, but facing off against that Clash is no easy feat. And sure enough, Hornet, I spoke about him earlier, Tim, that he had to become the X Factor. Well, he may have returned back to site to try and do it, but he's got away with 2 kills there. Wizard, Pino, with it all to do against 3. No utility left except those Clash shields to help out on the defense, but I feel like it is going to be enough, Tim. All this information being fed, they'll hold on the angles, they'll wait for that clock to run down, and this should be theirs. Pino will find at least one, but his round is cooked. Black Dragons take round 2.
Yeah, so I think a big part of the problem there for NIP, they did a lot of things really, really well. We saw them moving quickly. CCTV, cache, construction, start using the windows. They did everything. 90% of what they needed. They just didn't open that Jacuzzi wall, and it meant that there was a safe space for Black Dragons to play in. They were able to play around that 90 elbow, play behind the Clash, use, you know, we saw the kills coming in from there. It just really didn't give NIP the space that they needed to get into. Had they forced Black Dragons away from that corner as well, they can start thinking about getting into gym and getting a plant down, but they just didn't do that final step, and ultimately it cost them. It gave Black Dragons something to put their foot against to be able to push back against the NIP attack, and they managed to lock out the round 1-1.
Now here's an interesting one for you, Tim. Cash CC, no big surprises there. We've got the castle on side here for Flastry. First one's gone down towards stock door, another one going down on main door that I'd be able to tell you all about if I could see past the ad. But I think the goal here is to try and lock down this lounge side of things and be able to challenge in towards garage. That's also been reinforced off by Muzi on the Azami, and no doubt with these ADSs they're going to dig in deep and try and hold down this part of the map. Now, the options here for NIP is you can choose to completely avoid this hold and push him more towards the west side of things. Problem then is if you don't control stock, you've got potential C4s coming in from below, admittedly of which there are none from below, but shotguns can always be a bit of a threat. So they've got to respect what's going on here, but can choose to play around it if they don't want to have to worry about trying to full clear this setup coming out from Black Dragons.
Just got the verticals there for anybody trying to play down in the lounge. It means that you can just hold those areas, hold those doorways from inside of sight without having to commit manpower underneath. As it is, Flash Street is down there as well, so it's playing more of a supportive role for him and not allowing him to be pressured and pushed through those doors. Little mav hole into construction, again, just meaning that it's now difficult for anybody to play inside of there because they're not sure whether anybody's going to be holding that angle through to cut them off or not. So again, good quick progress from NIP. They've got themselves a lot of setup done within that first minute.
But enough they can press on and close out the round. I think the issue more comes later in the round, admittedly, Tim. Again, we spoke a lot about Rare on this clash already. That is 100%, by the way, gotta be the ban that we see in the next round from NIP. Like, they've been damaged by it in the last round. It's probably going to be a similar story here as well. I just don't think you can let that stay on side. If you want to be able to abuse shields on your own side, then that needs to be gone. Flatbeard probably gets banned as well, taken away from NIP. That leaves the blitz open. So there's still going to be choices for the attackers, but it does mean that their ban on the defender side really has got to be locked in here, I think. Here we go, though. As mentioned, largely ignoring what was going on inside of Garage, as we thought they might. Now looking in towards construction as their main entry point. They need the main breach as well here because, as we often say about this site, Tim, you need 2 points of entry. One always being the main breach, then one can either be one of construction or looking in towards garage side. And here, as you can see, it's about that main breach and it's about construction.
And at the minute, it's about the freedom that Black Dragons are being afforded with that wall not being opened. I picked up on it in the last round. NIP didn't open Jacuzzi. They could fall foul of the same situation again, not applying enough pressure into sight by getting those default breaches opened up. We're going to have Hornet cutting down Fantasy as he tries to move in. That's the opening kill. He can now retire back to sight. 5 versus 4, 35 seconds left to go. NIP, they try to get moving, but Machina, I picked up on him. He takes down hits. He's playing in a position that he couldn't play if that wall had been opened. We're going to see one down but not out. It's going to be Wizard finished off. 5 versus 2, and Black Dragons, they've got this one locked down.
I mean, cheeky enough to charge him behind the clash there and get the down on this one. But yep, it feels like Black Dragons have got it, Tim. I love how they retook Lounge away as well, killing off Fantasy, giving themselves that constant threat from below, because now the attackers upstairs are constantly like, well, no soft flooring is safe. They could be below. We could be in trouble here. Just really well played by Black Dragons. Knew how to respond if we saw NIP attacking him from construction side. They already had a setup to deal with the garage side. It looked like a really intelligent round to me, and that's why they now sit themselves at 2-1, and it could have been a 3-0 if not for that very, very strange first round that we kicked things off with.
Yeah, I think NIP certainly making some mistakes on the attack here in the last couple of rounds. As I think they made mistakes on the attack of the first round as well, to be honest with you. So yeah, not looking too sharp at the minute, and I kind of there's a lot of experience on this NIP side. Fantasy has been around it for a long time now, since he was moved away from Furia, and you got Wizard, you got Pino. These are players that have been around here. It's 2021 he started playing with Black Dragons Academy, as chance would have it, he's now facing off against them. But yeah, so much experience here, but failing to win rounds because default walls aren't opened and the defenders are able to use that space against them, and just what feel like silly mistakes creeping in. Like, they are winning some gunfights and they're kind of in the mix, but they're not giving themselves the chance to win rounds.
I don't like jumping on one player here as well, but I remember when, I'm going to do it obviously, I remember when Fantasy first appeared on Fury and he was like God. Like, would walk 3Ks, 4Ks for fun, Ash Jaeger main, deleting everyone he came across, and we were like, wow, this guy could go on to be one of the best in the world. And I feel bad, like, putting him in this spot because it could have been a team decision, it could have been his own overtime, I don't know. But it does feel like the game is starting to progress past him in a way now, and where he would have been the consistent top-rated player for a team across the stage or whatever it might be, we're not really seeing the same consistency from him that we used to, and it's kind of a shame. And to a degree, I respect it. He's playing things like Buck. He's played a lot of Habana in this game. He's playing roles that the team really needs him to. But it doesn't quite feel like what made Fantasy so special in the early days, right?
Exactly that, Des. Whether that changes as we continue on or not, I guess we'll see. But yeah, certainly that fear factor seems to have disappeared. So moving on, we're into round 4. Black Dragons looking, I want to say comfortable at the minute, but I don't feel like they're being properly pressured either. Like I've said, because of these, maybe errors that we're seeing from NIP, it's leaving them the freedom to win rounds. I want to see them really pressured. Do have a bit of drone information here. Muzi goes to try and do something about it. We're going to have a direct trade. 4 versus 3 though, as Machina manages to find Cons as well. Dips himself back into cash. He's going to try and get himself back to safety now. Just keep burning this time. Slowly drop back. Take the next challenge as it comes. Great stuff from Black Dragons on the roam, to be honest. Great stuff.
And fantastic kills to get. Like, this is why roaming is often so worth it as defenders, is look at the value trade you've got here. You've got rid of a Ying, you've got rid of a Blackbeard, and what have you exchanged for that? You got rid of one of the shells, and obviously the player of Muzi being taken offline as well from the Scorpos, but you still got the shield down, you still got the bulletproof air quotes behind that shield as well. It's 100% a trade that you'll take every day of the week.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and we're now at the 1 minute 15 mark, and NIP still aren't inside of the map. They don't know confidently where these top floor roamers have gone. Fantasy does manage to pick up Machina, so that's another one of them gone, but it's not all of them, because Hornet's still there. He picks up Pino, 3 versus 2. If Hornet can get himself back to site here now, then Black Dragons have done an unbelievable number on this roam.
Absolutely fantastic. Again, you lose Machina, the Fenrir, okay, it stings a little bit. Any activated, those mines still stay online, it's still useful to them, of course, but there's only 2 players left to push into him. You still got to deal with the goo mines, you still got to deal with the C4. Question mark, to be fair, on why Hornet has still got a bulletproof in back pocket, but we'll let him off, Tim. He's got a kill, he's got back towards site, he's done his job in this round. Outside of putting down the bulletproof camera.
He's got that. He's definitely forgotten about that.
Absolutely. Well, it was like, I'll just keep this here for safekeeping. Why not? Who knows? Might need it a bit later on. Not that I think they'll be too worried here, because with 20 seconds to go, they are at least doubled up here, ready for this push to come on through. Wizard starts to push on forward. He could be dead to rights. He's going after one. Will he be able to find anything on his stepping towards sight? Rare deleted. Rare gets a second. That's what you want to see. Black Dragons up 3-1.
Yeah, Black Dragons looking pretty good. As I said, there's been mistakes on the side of NIP, but you can only play what's in front of you, and Black Dragons have done that well. Mistakes are generally only mistakes when they get punished, and Black Dragons have certainly been there to do the punishing. So they find themselves 3-1 up, and NIP reeling and rattled at the minute. They're going to call that tactical timeout.
Not really surprised, to be fair.
Nah.
It has been a rough first 4 rounds. Again, we had that craziness in round 1 that saw them walking away the winner. I was like, oh, cool, maybe we're onto something here. And then since then, it has just been absolute dominance from Black Dragons. What I am curious about, and I'll come back to it, so I say it an awful lot, is there are 2 halves to a game of Siege. I do think you could see a bit of a switch over here. Black Dragons look very, very comfortable on the defensive side. Once they get on the attack, that could change drastically. So don't write NIP off yet, and certainly don't count Black Dragons as your winner just yet. But NIP sorely need to find a second round in this half. If they go into that second half 5-1 down, I don't think it really cares about there being 2 halves to a game of Siege. I think Black Dragons managed to find themselves at least a couple of rounds in that half to get things over the finish line.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think if Black Dragons come away with anything less than a 4-2, they're going to be really kicking themselves here. It's got to be 4-2 minimum now, 5-1 ideally, because NIP are just not doing enough to take rounds away from them here. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They need to just get themselves into that position where they just need to find a couple, and I would be very surprised if they don't get that done. But that being said, Black Dragons could easily come in and make the same sort of mistakes that NIP are making as well, I guess. So we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be Gym and Bedroom. We're going to have our final bans come in. Clash has been taken away from the defenders. We've seen Black Dragons using Clash a couple of times over the rounds so far, with a little hiccup there, with reasonable effect. A reminder for everybody, of course, we've got the Clash changes now where the shield can be planted and the player can move around it. So it's almost kind of like a portable mirror window in some ways, apart from it's see-through, so you can still see if the Clash is in behind there, not like the mirror windows. But the other important factor is that electricity now doesn't do any damage anymore. That's the one to remember. It will still slow players down, but it won't do them any damage, so it's no longer effective against something like a Monty, for example. Monty is banned out here, but the point remains.
Yeah, it was a game of banning away shields as we thought it might be. The Blackbeard being left up did concern me, but that's neither here nor there now. It's not being brought along in the round itself. Here we go with the start up towards this top side of things, or at least out towards the Jacuzzi Breach. You remarked before that it was forgotten about, Tim. Well, this time around, you will be ecstatic to know that they have remembered and have brought the tools for the job.
Excellent news. Let's see if they can get it done.
Marvellous.
And get it open. That's always the next question. I saw somebody, I meant to make a note of it. I saw somebody the other day playing Maverick in NAL it was. I'll have to go back and have a look who it was to praise them, because they had quite obviously put in a lot of work onto that torch, and we've seen teams, and it frustrates me, because if you're going to bring the Maverick and you're going to play
like
it,
the last couple of days,
it was in NAL on day one. Yeah,
so no, we were praising, I want to say it was Fultz recently at an event about how
you have to get
surgical.
it right.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're you're a pro team. If Maverick may be needed, you should have somebody on your team who can absolutely nail that. Get the reinforcements off every time. We saw, I already mentioned Falcons struggling with it. You know, they should be absolutely nailing that, and it's always something to watch. I think Cons has done a good job of it there.
You know, it'd be a class drill is like all your teammates grab C4s, 4 of them. You're the Maverick by yourself, trying to get a hatch opened up where they've got a Kaid, a tuber out, C4s ready to toss at you. It becomes a miserable existence, but my God, you'll become a good Maverick in no time, that's for sure.
Hits does manage to pick up Rare. Fantasy doubles down as well, picking up the trade onto Machina, who had just found Pino. 3 versus 1. NIP surely get themselves another attack. Surely, right? Flash trade manages to pick up Fantasy. 1 versus 2. Cons does have Diffuser in hand. Going to take a little bit of damage from that Toxic Babe. This is being played really well by the smoke at the minute. Going to send another one deep. Just that very quick peek around the corner, but I don't think he quite finds his man. It's taking little lungfuls of it, but nothing too meaningful. Cons unable to think about putting the diffuser down yet. Will go for it now with the flash coming in as well.
And he gets it down. He's got it down to a 1 versus 1, Tim. It's only got to find Cons now, who's sat in behind the mattress, and he knows about it as well. Steps across and almost finds his man. But now Cons has escaped him. This might be a hard one to chase down. A matter of experience between these two. It's not looking too easy. He's going to try and long arm it, draw his man back in, pops out the Goyo canister as well. That could be massive. He's going to have to go in pretty blind here and try and make it happen. The long arm's through, goes in, he doesn't stick it, but he gets the down as well. Flastry finds a 3K, goes huge, and gets Bad Dragons up to 4-1.
There you have it. We've spoken so far about NIP mistakes costing them rounds, and you gotta say it's the same again. 1 versus 3, and Flashtree does everything right. It's not just about NIP making the mistakes there. Flashtree really does do everything right. He was playing that smoke beautifully. He was just dipping in and out and getting those Toxic Babe canisters into the right positions. Great stuff. Chipped away at the health, and when you're playing with an SMG, it's a big, important part. If you can take 10, 15, 20 HP off somebody, it's making those fights a lot easier later on. Flashtree, absolute masterclass. Beautiful clutch from him, and that puts Black Dragons 4-1 up.
We've had a few plays like that, like nades back on border earlier as well. There was one in the prior game too. It's been a night of some really exciting clutches and multi-kills. It's been fantastic, Tim.
Just to add to my earlier point, as I believe it was Emilio on Envy that I was impressed with. I'd have to check back through the VOD, but I had Envy in my mind before thinking about it, so I went and had a look at their game, and there was 2 rounds that Emilio played Maverick on the attack, and I was very impressed with the gadget use. It was really good. If I'm on the right one. So if you go back and watch it and it was a bit wobbly, I apologise because I've told you the wrong match, but I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure.
I've got a great idea, Tim. You go back and find it, and then you send me a link.
Okay.
You're the one waxing lyrical about the guy. I feel like the burden of proof is with you.
I'll find it. I will. I'll find it after we're done today. I'll go and find it, because it was just very clean, very good Maverick play.
Very good. All right, onwards we march. Flashtree, please don't burn yourself out here, mate. You've had a brilliant play there. Let's not see yourself dying to environmentals now. It's down to about 70 HP off the back of that one, which just removed for the need for another bullet to put him in the grave. Certainly going to increase the chances of NIP finding their man. For now, very focused on getting this main breach opened up. No surprises at all. It's a very similar setup to last time, to be fair, Tim. So that question comes in again. What do they do here? Do they focus on the garage side, or do they move out towards construction? I imagine they'll move out towards construction, but they'll be far more mindful of what is going on inside of Lounge.
Yeah, I'm just glad that they've learnt the lesson as well. We've just seen them working on the main breach. They've got the Hibana pellets top and bottom. It basically does the same thing as a Maverick trick. It just, if you get it in the right place, it drops the whole reinforcement and you can open it up. But they've learnt their lesson. They know that they were punished from garage balcony because Machina was able to walk in and out of CCTV, use that rotation because the wall wasn't opened. This time it is, so it's going to help them at least get a little bit of presence, even if they do end up coming from the construction side. Ooh. But Fantasy goes to one, picks up Hornet. Nitro was detonated just before, though. Flashtra picks up Cons as well. 3 versus 3 as Hits is there with the answer for NIP. 3 versus 3. Black Dragons, they continue to hold on, and Hits, it's half health.
All right. Interesting back and forth there between the two. I mean, Flashtra gets that second kill outside into the Capital. Round is probably done, so it's a good thing that Hates did get his man. But realistically, Flashtra should have been getting traded out every day of the week as well. It's just criminal if he gets away with that kill, that many kills in that position. As we're down to this last 60 seconds, though, also, Tim, I'll come back to what I said before. Think about what the attackers lose out on here versus what the defenders lose out on. Hornet already made use of that C4. His gadgets stay down. Same with the Castle. No C4, but his gadgets will stay down. The attackers have still got to chew their way through. And, of course, with Hates on side, they can start to force these players away. And it's a great shot from Hates, who has basically single-handedly here won control of Garage for his team. Such a critical spot to have on side, but they haven't got the Lion to help. There's no Zofia to chew their way through things like those keeper barriers, which is why it's now demanding a player like Hates goes big.
They should have what they need, though. They've got a player out on the half roof. They've got the garage balcony. They've got diffuser in hand. Wizard can get into position behind that server stack to think about getting the plant down. There's no real denial available, but look at this. Machina comes in with a double. It's now 1v1. 5 seconds. He could have run, but he didn't. He took the fight with Pino and found the kill. And that's going to be Black Dragons again winning another round. That really, NIP, it could have been theirs.
Machina has got massive balls. I don't know many a pro player that would stay and go for that fight. Ones that would tuck away, hold an angle maybe, sure, but swing? Don't know about that one, Chief. It doesn't matter at the end of the day because you got the kill that he needed, Tim. 5-1 Black Dragons. Like you say, NIP could have had a round or two in the mix there, but instead it's Black Dragons well and truly in the lead.
Yeah, I think NIP, you got to be kicking yourself there. There's at least 2 rounds that they should have won where they had man advantage. There was a 3v1 and a 3v2 that they've lost, but there's also rounds where, you know, not opening walls and other mistakes have really not necessarily cost them the round, but certainly, you know, cost them the opportunity to win the round. I think it's probably fair to say. But 5-1 Black Dragons, they're going to feel pretty confident coming in here. We could see a complete switcheroo. We do get this sometimes where teams, you know, maybe rosters are a bit newer, they've been put together, they struggle on the attack, they get onto the defense. This is always going to be where it's a little bit more polished because you're setting this up regardless of what the attackers do. This is your setup, so you can practice this over and over and over again. When it comes to the attack, you're kind of responding to what the attackers are doing, so, you know, maybe you haven't seen that before in a scrim, maybe that's something you've only come across once, so you don't really have the plan there for it. So yeah, we might see that from Black Dragons as well here. You know, maybe there's an opportunity for NIP to grab a couple of rounds back. But with the way things are going at the minute, I feel like Black Dragons have been more active on the trading, more active on, you know, getting a couple of kills early in the round and then dictating the pace of the round. If that continues, I would have thought they could find themselves a couple of rounds, at least, somewhere.
You would hope so, Tim. You really would. Well, I'll come back to the line I've said all night. There are 2 halves to a game of Siege. You could see a very different Black Dragons team on the attack. We could, of course, continue to see a very dominant one. Absolutely. But more often than not, we do see teams battle their way back in. You know, there's a reason why things like 7-0s and 7-1s are relatively rare. And instead you see things like 7-4s, 7-3s being more of the common scoreline that we witness at the high level of play. So we'll see if Black Dragons can close things out, but also don't count NIP out just yet. They could still very well have a lot of fight to offer.
Dirt Tunnel is going to be immediately challenged by Rhea with the blitz. He's going to start pushing down there. I'm not sure if he's aware of the player ahead. He will be now. I was going to say, I'm not sure if he's aware of the player ahead of him. Cons on the smoke. Is going to pop out a Toxic Babe, but that's not bad for Black Dragons. If they keep themselves away from damage here, that's one Toxic Babe used within the first minute of the round. There's the second gone. This utility is getting chewed through quickly.
That's the key thing, right? Burn the smokes out early on, and you haven't got to worry about them when it comes around to the execute. The third one was actually was about to come through here, and Flastry, the hero of a number of situations, the hard breacher, Tim, and they have no other hard breaches worth stressing, has been taken down by a run out from Meat. That is criminal. That cannot be happening.
Yeah, you can't let them get away with that. And this is kind of what I said coming into this round, wasn't it? You know, we might see Black Dragons on the attack. Black Dragons on the attack might start to like stall out a little bit almost, you know, and just really start to struggle where NIP can then pick up a few rounds on the defense. And I think that may be what we are going to see, because right now, Black Dragons are struggling to even get themselves established inside of the map, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, at least that hatch is opened up. I didn't realize it was open inside the kitchen already. It being open does take away some of the risk. However, if things like bar haven't been opened up, then it starts to become a real issue, because that then becomes really only point of entry. You've got to worry about attacking through dirt, maybe kitchen drop, maybe main stairs. You'd really like someone in motor or blue as well, ideally. It just takes away those options that you have available to you if those hatches are still left locked up nice and tight. So for the defenders, for the most part here, they at least know the spots that are safe and what they can play around, and ones where they've really got to get prepared for a war.
Blitz will once again go back to Dirt Tunnel, knowing that they can maybe push in there and get a little bit of traction now that Cons has dipped away, but need to deal with that very common as army spot to the left of Dirt Door there. Just going to be sat in there behind those keeper barricades, holding this position, preventing the shield from making progress. Machina does find one, but Fantasy is there for the trade. We have a flurry of kills, but it's NIP who come out on top. Pino Fantasy finish things off. And that's going to be NIP getting themselves a second round on the board, and it's going to be a big confidence boost for them picking up their first defense.
Really, I think as soon as they got rid of Flastry early on in the Headbanner, that round was done, sealed, signed and sent off. Really, really good play from Hates as well, who had a really good prior round on the Capital, let's not forget too. So a couple of big rounds from him have really led to NIP getting themselves a bit of breathing room here. 5-2 it stands at, still a big hill to climb, but you are filled with a bit of confidence now if you're on NIP side.
Exactly, NIP I think are looking at this and thinking we need another round or two. They won't worry about it too much just yet, but I think they'll already feel confident about potentially getting to overtime there. And I know that's a big call after one round, but I just look at it and Black Dragons have suffered the same problems that NIP did. They weren't getting themselves in the map, they weren't getting themselves established, they weren't clearing utility or disrupting the defensive positions, and it cost them ultimately in the end. They never really got any ground. How bothered were the defenders in sight? Not very bothered, and that was the problem.
You love this measure.
Honestly, it's a brilliant measure.
So
with the defenders in sight, bothered.
At our next event, you need to rock up with, you know, like it's like a piece of paper that's got like an arrow on it, and you can have like a timometer on there. Like
yeah, it'd be like I think we should do that.
And I think we'll regularly consult the bothered meter for how bothered you believe either team is at that moment in time.
And I can tell you now, NIP's defence there, they were not bothered.
That dial is firmly off to the left. Now, here we please, surely. I was about to say, surely Hates doesn't fancy it again. Are you might trying to think about? No. I was thinking surely he doesn't chance a swing, and I'm glad that he hasn't so far. But for a second, he might still think about it a little bit last second there, but nope. And hold his position. They're going to assume that main is clear. It is not.
It was just far enough away from the environmental ingredient there not to get himself any damage attracted. We can see he's still on full HP. Black Dragons still looking to get themselves established inside of the map. Two of them now have been able to do that. They're going to start working on Red Stairs and Garage. This is an improvement already over the last round. Machina manages to get a double. That's really big. NIP just giving themselves up, selling themselves a little bit as they try to get back to site. The pressure was mounting. Machina had taken the chance of getting himself onto construction window, and he's punished two of them.
Well, Tim, when two teams are really struggling to attack, what's the solution you should turn to? Apparently, it's a Kali. 2 big kills from Machina completely opens up this round for them. This is the kind of spot where we spoke about this back on map 1. If you're in a 5 versus 3 at this level, you should then not go on to lose. If you're in a 5 versus 2 at this level, you should not go on to lose the round.
No, they really do need to be winning this. We saw NIP, and that's going to be one of the differentiating factors. We saw NIP with man advantage a few times, 3 versus 1 now. This is a situation we saw NIP in, and Black Dragons won it in the 1v3. Flash Streak came through and won the 1v3, and so this is where Black Dragons need to show the difference. You know, NIP, you gave away a 3v1. We didn't give away a 3v1. We've got ourselves onto map point, and that's going to be the deciding factor between these two teams.
Oh, I mean, Machina was the difference in that round, Tim, as well.
Yeah,
the fact that he's picked up 3 kills there as well is a little bit, shouldn't really be giving Akali the opportunity to make plays like that, but it's all the play that Black Dragons really needed. Now find themselves up at 6-2. If they come out this game, they're winning, you probably look at it and say for both teams, it's been very lackluster on the attacking side. Like, it's taken a hero play in that round to get it over the line. God knows what it'll be that wins that 7th round for Black Dragons in the game, but they are now firmly in the driving seat. 4 rounds they've got to get this right. NIP can no longer make any mistakes.
I've really enjoyed watching Machina so far tonight, I will say. I think he's...
Is that because he's got 13 kills?
I mean, he's gone 13 and 5, but there's been some really enjoyable plays there as well. You know, I like seeing people who are willing to bring a different operator here and there, bringing along the Kali. It's a bit of something different. We don't see too much of it. Getting a triple kill as well. Fantastic. We saw good play on the Jaeger on defence, up on Garage Catwalk particularly, in and around the area that we just saw Fantasy there. And yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching Machina play tonight. He's definitely a player that, you know, maybe I knew a little bit less than the others, but looking towards the rest of the stage, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him.
Okay. Admittedly, again, more team cohesion I think needs to be built out, but do agree, pretty good so far as things stand. Another player that I referred to earlier on was Fantasy, winding back the years here, jumping on that Jaeger as well, an operator who's very well known for back in the day. Really across the board, you look at the NIP lineup here, and you know, he's the only one that's gone, well, alongside Pino, sorry, that has gone even as far as the kills go. And of course, the game isn't all about kills, but you look at the other, and you've referred to Machina being a bit of a difference maker. There's no one really on the team that's done that for them so far, and it will mean NIP yet again go back to the drawing board and start thinking about how the hell do we turn around our fortunes or misfortunes.
Brer gets into the top floor aggressively here, just looking to catch out any roamers on the opposite side to the site itself. Hornets there in support as well. They're pretty confident that they've quickly gained control, and I like this again. Less than a minute into the round, Black Dragons have got control over Master Bedroom, clearing out that ingredient. They can get themselves into construction and immediately start putting a little bit of pressure onto site. Maybe play your Blackbeard on site door, make it difficult for them to challenge. Put a Wasp in the room, let them know that there's this constant distraction and they need to be aware of it, NIP.
You see where the focus is going to be, Tim. They're expecting a construction side hit, but there's that vertical play that you come to expect when they know that there's bandits set up and they know it'll be a nightmare to chew through directly. Send someone below and have them get the vertical control going for you, and that's exactly what they've got here. Drones out on the flank as well, you saw a second ago, keeping an eye on any flanks that might come on through. Looking pretty good so far. Well set up here, Black Dragons, and they've got an answer for what NIP are putting up in front of them.
Cons just takes a little bit of damage as well, and you can see that on the side of NIP. They're just being chipped at, but Fantasy, nice. He's going to chip away at Machina, and who better to take down on the side of Black Dragons than the Talisman player so far today. Manages to cut down the buck, the Blackbeard goes as well, and the wheels have come off for Black Dragons. They managed to get themselves inside into the map quickly, and we're making progress, but the brakes have well and truly gone on. 3 versus 5, NIP can breathe a sigh of relief. They might just have a stay of execution for another round.
Maybe for now, yeah. I think even at this even at this point, surely they don't lose a round off the back of this, and they still yet might. Rare was one of the dead players, so it's not the end of the world that he's disconnected here, but the rest of his team have got to pull off a 3 versus 4 with only 30 seconds still to play. Everything's being focused here out towards construction as well. They know there's a player top red, just can't quite find him when he's dug in behind this reinforcement, really making life difficult for them to even start a push on forward, Tim.
Nade will come out, and that's just going to force a player out of position. It's not really going to matter, though, as 2 kills come in for NIP. Flashtree able to get 1. He's already hit a 1v3, but he did it with a little bit more than 7 seconds on the clock last time. Not going to have the time this time around. NIP get themselves another one, and that will keep them fighting for now. But it still feels for me like it's a matter of time for Black Dragons.
3 more rounds they've got to get through here, Tim, to catch up and send us to overtime again. Remembering, neither team can walk away with all 3 points at this stage. So got the band to come on through here as well. Curious what both teams look to take away. And of course, it gives a bit of time for Rare to get himself back in the lobby as well, so we can get things back underway. In fact, I think we're at a pause even now while we get that sorted.
I think we are. As you said, the bands would have come through otherwise by now.
18-second timer, mate. We've got loads of time.
Yeah, they've all the time in the world. We'll get this one done, as you say, as soon as we get Rare back in, and we will be good to go. The bands, as they stand at the minute, at the beginning of the defensive half, we had NIP banning away Ace and Monty. Black Dragons took away Cade and Mirror, so we will see following bans come through. Honestly, from Black Dragons, I'd quite like to see an as army ban. I think take away one of those really big critical defenders, and I feel like that's going to give you the space at some point to grab that round that you need.
I reckon you ban a Carly, Tim, here.
You think?
Yeah, why not? Just stop macking her. Nah, if I was going to ban something here, I think you go towards the Grim. I think it's been in a couple of rounds now. It's been quite a nuisance to deal with. I wouldn't say it's contributed towards them winning the round earlier, no. But across those last 2 rounds, we have seen it have quite the impact. So I think it would be a sensible ban to take away for NIP. But maybe they've got something else cooking. Of course, Shield's also a good option. We've seen Blackbeard, we've seen Blitz. My main concern with banning a Shield is you ban one, the other one is still available. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think there's too much value in it. Like you say, if Black Dragons are hell-bent on bringing a shield, they're going to be able to do it one way or another. So I think you can probably get more value by specifically targeting, maybe the Hibana or maybe the Grim, something that's going to really slow them down. I know the Hibana leaves them with other hard breach options still, but I just feel like it's with the Ace as well. It's just such a peak hard breacher for this map. It's if you've got to bring the Maverick or you've got to bring the, it's forcing your operator choices to bring the can openers to do something. So yeah, I think you'd find more value out of something like that.
All right. I assume because we've come back to this overlay, we're good to go. No, not just yet. This is one thing we were slightly mindful of as well to talk about for a second. Of course, players aren't all playing on LAN anymore or playing back at home. That can lead sometimes to situations where like internet can be a little bit spotty if there's a storm or whatever else it might be, and that may be what we're experiencing now. So when Rare gets back in the game, get underway, but we could be waiting a few minutes while we find out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil is a big place. Brazil is a very, very big place. Like you say,
wonderful place.
Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved my time there. But yeah, big place. It's got very different climate, very different weather, very different challenges, maybe to other parts of the world. So, like you say, something like a storm can roll through and start causing a few little hiccups here and there. But we don't know that that's the case. We're just surmising at this point. But as we say, we'll get Rare back in as soon as we can do and get underway. But yeah, it is unfortunately just kind of the nature of it's the nature of how things are in Brazil, or how they have been historically through Siege's history, really. It's always a good little tech pause here and there in Brazil.
How much of the new season have you played, actually, Tim, since Siege X? I know it's only been like 4 days, so not a lot.
I've had an unfortunately small amount of time to play games at all since Siege X launched.
The very limited time you've had, you've been playing Rocket League with me and Fresh. And
that's literally the only gaming that I've done was that 20 minutes today that we played since Siege X came out. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of playing and streaming Siege X next week. That's probably hopeful as well, really, because I'm doing a few talks and a few things. I was in Copenhagen a couple of days ago for a few days, so I've just been like absolutely so stacked. I'm looking towards like next Friday, really, and then I can really get back into it.
And this, I saw someone tweet about it the other day, actually, from the Siege community, and they were just like, Man, I was looking like when I'm next available, and it's like the 21st of July, and they're just like, is this what being an adult really feels like? And
honestly,
like,
that's what it's been like the last week or so. And I mean, I don't complain. I'm very fortunate. Obviously, you know, my work it's very specific in the times that it has to happen. So I you know, flexibility can be a difficult thing because obviously the games are when the games are, and that's, you know, when we've got to work. But I do also get quite a bit of downtime and stuff as well, so I'm very fortunate like that, so I really don't complain too much. But yeah, it's just been terrible timing that I've been so busy right around the launch of Siege X, because I'm absolutely desperate to like get some rich time in and get back in the stack and get playing. But yeah, it's been a bit of a tour. I'm hoping, given that it's Father's Day tomorrow, I am busy through the daytime, but I'm hoping that I will be afforded the time and space tomorrow night to lock in for a good few hours as a little treat for Father's Day, maybe.
Tomorrow night? Oh, you're not casting tomorrow, are you?
No.
I thought you were, and I was just like, mate, you're here with me, what are you on about? And then I realised I'm casting a demo, aren't I, instead?
You are.
There we go. Okay, we're all good. Oh, why are you subjecting me to demo for like 6 hours, man?
You did that to yourself.
Did I? No, I agreed to help out Emmy. I agreed to help out a friend. And my punishment for that is to be stuck with demo for 6 hours.
Bless them. You'll have fun with demo.
We will. To be fair, he was the first person I ever casted the Siege, and we had a brilliant time back in the day. It was very fun. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good laugh.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun back in UK Prem.
The good old days. Now we're just bitter old men. Casting EML and SAL.
One day we will be, you know, them two Muppets that sit up on the balcony?
Yeah.
I mean, we're Muppets in more than one sense of the word, to be fair.
Ernie and Bernie, is it?
I don't know what they call, but they just sit up there and like just throw insults down at everybody. That's just going to be us one day.
That's Bert and Ernie. Was it Bert and Ernie like an old form?
Nah, they were.
That was something else, weren't it? What am I thinking of?
Else. That was something else. That was I can't remember.
It was Statler and Waldorf. That's the one. Sorry.
Yeah, they're the ones on the balcony. That's who.
Yeah, just heckling and complaining about everything.
Yeah,
that'll be us. Itter.
Can't wait for it. I tell you what, not today. Not today though, Des.
You're going to tell me what? What were you going to tell me?
That's what I was going to tell you, that it won't be today.
Ah, very good, very good. At least we're aligned on that front then.
We're back in. We're going to enjoy some more Siege. Interesting breaching pattern there for the X-Karos pellets. That's just going to be a straight walkthrough as it gets opened up. I thought for a second they were going to take out the top and bottom, as we discussed earlier, and just clear that off and make it soft and then work their way in. But no, they've just gone for the straight up and down.
To be fair, they haven't really got anything to destroy the soft breaching away with, though, right?
No, that's a very good point.
So they'll be a bit like, ugh. So I guess it's all they can really get away with. But in as they go, we've also got ourselves other walls opened up. As you can see, Rare has used both of those exothermics. They have been busy bees in the first 60 of this round. At least moving at some, I'd say, good pace here. We've got about half the round has already elapsed. NIP largely dug in around site, just sort of waiting to see what comes next. Hates the main player. You're looking at being out around the map to cause a spot of bother. Machina trying to round and hunt him down, but will he find his prey?
He knows where he is, but he cannot beat him to the punch. Hits manages to find the kill, and Machina with a triple in the last time he played again on this round. Sorry, on this site. Is a big takedown there. He's been going well, but the last 2 rounds he's been shut down without a kill, and cooling off a player who was 13-5, now 13-7 is never going to be a bad thing for NIP.
2 halves to a game of Siege, Tim. It can spin very quickly. I know he had a great round on the Carly earlier on, but it can just as quickly start to run away from you. Now getting themselves set up police on the South balcony, feel they've got all the control that they need, and they'd be largely right in that assessment. Main problem is, the main worry for them is they've got 40 seconds to go, Tim. All these players still stand on the side of NIP. There's still a C4 to play behind. They've got a lot of work to do.
And they start to do it. Rare manages to find the kill onto Fantasy. 4 versus 4, but Cons is there playing from inside a site. Manages to cut down the man on the window, but again, Black Dragons find the answer. 3 versus 3 as Muzi manages to take him down in a trade. That leaves Wizard, Pino, Hates with it all to do. They are going to find themselves being pressured inside a site, but with 10 seconds left to go, it is now or never for Black Dragons. They need to push forward. They see the head of the Asami, but can't get the kill. 2 do come in. running, and the plant is going down. That's going to extend the clock. It's all up to Hits in the 1v2. He finds the first. Can he find the second? Yes, he can. Flashtree managed to do it for Black Dragons, and Hits says, you know what? I'm here for my team too. NIP clutch it out and keep themselves alive for another round.
Some big moments from Hates at the back end of last half and into the first few rounds of this one as well. We were talking about 4 rounds feeling like a bit too much of a hill to climb, not forgetting 5-1 was the score at the end of the half. Now they're within 2 rounds of striking distance. And I was worried for NIP team. I won't lie, they were in that 5-man situation. I thought, they've got the sight, they've got the clock. There's just no way they lose this one. Then when it becomes a 3v3, you start to worry. When it becomes a 1 versus 2, then I was thinking this is done. But Hates played it to perfection, played the time incredibly well. Black Dragons constantly guessing where the hell he was coming from, and they paid the price for it. Great stuff, and as I say, still 2 rounds to go.
You got to feel like it's looking good for NIP at the minute to get themselves to overtime possibly here, because like, if we look at what's happened so far, the one site that they'd lost was Gym and Bedroom. They've just gone back there and got the win. They've already then had a win on CCTV and Cash. They're down to bottom floor basement again, where they won back in round 7. So they need to basically win the 2 sites that they've already won. That's what's going to get them to overtime. And honestly, I think, you know, lining up basement now, it's fantastic time for it, because it gets you to within that 1 round. It gets you to within touching distance when you've got to go for the slightly more difficult CCTV in round 12. So this looks good for NIP at the minute.
It can change so much round to round is only my main concern, though, right? Like, look at Makina on the Carly earlier. Look at that round then when they were, you know, almost at, while they were down at a man disadvantage. It can flip so quickly, which is why I don't want to get too excited for them, just in case things do start to completely peel away. And then we're left like, oh, what could have been if NIP had got themselves close? Again, remembering last time Black Dragons played this map in an official was 433 days ago. The last time NIP won it was 433 days ago against Black Dragons. So for both teams, there's quite a record or a long streak here of misfortune on this map, or simply not playing it, that one team has got to overcome. And as things stand, it still looks like Black Dragons are going to be that team.
Presence inside of bar again. It's going to be Hits. He was there last time, but taken down this time. That is also going to force Wizard back away. Big opener for Black Dragons. Managing to get themselves the man advantage. The Dockerby call comes in. They've dealt with that roam absolutely brilliantly. If you look across the side of NIP, everybody back to bar. Pino taken down. It looks like they might not make it past basement. Des, I really fancied NIP to head in towards overtime, but right now, it's not looking good. Pino does get collected. 5 versus 4.
Another phone call comes out here as well. Of course, got the jammers on the downstairs to be able to turn those off immediately if so required, but I think for the most part, just going to ignore it, knowing they're pretty safe on site here, and there's not going to be an execute coming with 1 minute and 30 still left in the round, so they'll just let those ones expire out. Does mean, though, that there are no phone calls now available. That second one could have been saved out, but I think Hornet made use of it just to make sure there was still no one else looking to roam up on that first floor. All 4 players down in basement. The vertical work can begin, and Black Dragons starting to set up for the execute that could end this game.
Yeah, I think if they've recognised the mutes on side as well, maybe, you know, you said yourself, they can run into those jammers. They just thought, it's not going to be too effective as part of an execute, so, you know, let's just make sure we're safe on the roam. But right now, they're working Moto Hatch, looking to get themselves the drop. They will do that inside of the smoke coming out of the ingredient that they had just shot out. Cons just trying to stray around that edge, but he can't do anything as Makina manages to find the kill. 4 versus 3. NIP still holding on as Hornet gets taken out. And I was just going to say his fantasy slipped the net, but he had not. Flashtree takes him down. 15 seconds, Des.
2 versus 2, and Wizard might have just balanced it out enough here for them, Tim. Shots coming on through, and Wizard wins out another. Finds a 3K for himself, and Moosey's got it all to do with just 10 seconds to play. Wizard, he works his magic. Gets to 4K, and NIP are still in this game.
They really are playing it close to the wire. Black Dragons really feeling like they were in charge through a lot of that round, but it's always tough to attack onto the basement. If there's any site you're going to be able to just dig into and hold the line, it is going to be down there in Church and Arsenal. NIP do exactly that. They get themselves back within touching distance. One more round will see them through to overtime, and it will see them guarantee at least 1 point in the league table. So, NIP, can you do it? That is the question. It would be 4 rounds in a row. They were 6-2 down. Let's not forget. They're going to have to do it up in CCTV and cash, unless they fancy a bit of bar and stage.
I doubt they fancy a bit of bar and stage,
I doubt
Tim.
that too.
I doubt they fancy a bit of bar and stage. I'll tell you what, someone's come for our life a little bit here, actually. We were talking about Waldorf and Statler, and obviously the stream is slightly delayed. We came onto that on the stream, and someone said, you're already a bunch of Muppets.
You see, but I'd already made the joke, Des. So, jokes on them. Jokes on them.
Well, they got there first, Tim. Well, technically they didn't, but they kind of did. But it's fine. It's okay. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of them games where you look at it. I'm glad I didn't see a tattoo NIP's, name on my body anyway after this one, like I did back in the last game, because I did have that suspicion that, look, I've said it so many times, 2 halves to a game of Siege, NIP have absolutely shown that to be true. A very different half from them. Do I think it's on them that they're the reason why this game is still ongoing? No. I think there's been a couple of rounds where Black Dragons could have seen this wrapped up, but if not for a brilliant clutch out of an individual player or a last-second play, Hates, for example, making use of the fact we were in the extra time of the plant going down to end out a 1v2, Wizard hitting a nasty 4K in the last round. It's come down to moments that really Black Dragons should not be letting happen, and now they're at a spot where they could be staring at the jaws of overtime.
Yeah, it's the same story from both attacks in slightly different ways. I think, the mistakes have been slightly different from NIP on the attack to Black Dragons on the attack, but essentially the outcome and the story has been the same, and that is that they have made mistakes, they have given opportunities to the defenders, they have lost in those man advantage situations that they should be winning, and I think, both of them, when they come away from this, we often talk about, you're going to come away, you're going to learn the lessons, you're going to watch the VODs, and it helps them develop. They both desperately need to be looking at their attacks.
Well, Machina clearly is very much sped up of Carly, as this round is over onto the Glass instead. Not a lot of smokes to play behind. I'd say not a lot of smokes. Not a lot of smoke nades, only the 2 in back pocket. But, of course, we have got that Capitao on side. And, Tim, we've seen some teams make great use of glass. I think of Dark Zero back at our recent event. Really good use of glass when banning away certain operators on the other side. Not too sure it's going to be the best for them here. However, there is also no Warden on side, so that could actually play into their favour quite heavily.
Yep, definitely. They know now that there's somebody up at the top of red stairs. Do they know about the defender down in lounge? That is a big question to keep an eye on. It's Wizard that's kind of up and down and around that area, just trying to make a nuisance of himself on blue stairs. The Azame just trying to dip out of the way, but it's maybe not going to matter as Cons manages to get a double. Machina and Hornet both taken down. The Capitao and the Glass. What a combo to pick up at the same time.
And that could be all they need as well, Tim. The 2 key operators are removed. Unless we see something crazy. Again, NIP should not be losing a 5 versus 3 when you've taken away the 2 most important operators on that side. So I'm even they brought along a Thatcher, for example, as well to try and deal, I imagine, in case there was a Warden somewhere to try and stop them. That's not going to be the case. It doesn't matter even if there was a Warden because they can't make use of this combo they brought along. NIP have to win this round. There's just no reason why they should ever lose it.
No, absolutely not. Rotero drone is going to go in. If they get far enough up there, it will take out both sets of barbed wire, which it does. So that's going to give a little bit of access to red stairs, but it's not going to be easy. Cons is there. Picks up the 3rd on the round with a nicely timed swing just as that flash comes in. Finds the kill before it activates itself, and that leaves us 4 versus 2, and they just want to feed Cons at this point. They want to give him more and more. Wizard manages to pick up 1. Flashtree does eventually find Cons. Says it won't be a 4K for the round, but look at this. They are all fronting up. They know exactly where he is, and Pino steps in, says, I'm going to deal with this, and he finds his man.
Oh, dang it. They really let this one slip away. I mean, fair play. NIP a battle back in at a time, Tim, where it looked impossible. And for Black Dragons, they're going to be scratching their heads a little bit because they've got to start on the attacking side. Oh, no. That 5-1 half feels like so long ago now. They've got all the work to do. They've got the 2 hard rounds to play out here. NIP should be able to get this one done. I say should because, as we said all along, crazier things have happened. But at least by the numbers as it stands, NIP should be the ones to walk away with the 2 points.
You would expect so. As I say, you know, both teams need to go away and look at the, you know, go back to the drawing board, look at their attacks. If we come out of an entire clubhouse with only 2 successful attacks, including overtime, you know, that kind of tells us everything that we need to know about the matchup, really. Definitely work for both to be done. But let's focus back on whether that will be the case or not. Occasionally we do get these kind of strange reversals when we get into overtime, where we just see that a map has been heavily defender favoured throughout, and then all of a sudden somebody just comes out and wins 2 attacks, and it's, you know, completely flipped on its head. But we will see. Maybe the case, maybe not. I would guess for not at this point, but it's going to be Black Dragons kicking things off, attacking down into the basement. Can they get rid of those mistakes that have cost them a couple of rounds on the attack?
Well, looking very heavily to focus towards an execute here, by the way, Tim. Just looking at the lineup coming out of Black Dragons that they've got, leaning in towards that blitz, leaning in towards the Ying Candelas. Really want to overwhelm and storm their way through, cutting off the defenders with things like those Grim Bees. Of course, the vertical work to come out of Machina is also key. The IQ feels a tickle out of place here, I'm not going to lie. But at least it's going to give them the information they need to be able to clear out any crucial bits of utility, making use of those frag nades in back pocket as well. So things like the Melusi should not be in place for long. The big thing for me, though, that I'm worried about is that in this round, we have got a Warden on side. It was missed out last time. Even though they brought up the EMPs on the other side, this time around there are no EMPs, so Pino could be crucial to NIP holding on.
In goes the shield. It's going to be chasing down any roamers up on the top floor, making life difficult. Pino, as you say, safely within the cocoon of sight, making sure that they've got that utility that they need later on in the round. Nitro still in hand as well, so can definitely be having an impact. 1 minute 30, pretty quiet so far, as we would expect. Black Dragons have gone in, make sure that they've got the entirety of the map, which they do, so I want to see them moving confidently now. Everybody's back on site. They should know that at this point. They've got 9 drones still alive, so they're not going to be short of intel whatsoever. So now start pressuring and give yourself those vital seconds for that execute.
No mute jammers as well, no Mozzie pests, nothing to impede those 9 drones. Tim is the main one. Literally any information they could want here is available to them. There is almost like no excuse for you to mess up and execute here by not knowing where a player is or not having cleared out a crucial bit of utility or at least being aware of it. Like, again, it's hard to say that you don't pull off a really good execute off the back of this. I'm more nervous, to be honest with you, about when it comes around to the gunfights themselves. That is where NIP, at least across the last few rounds, have gone absolutely mega. We spoke about Hate, we saw Wizard with his 4K, Cons in the last round picking up 3. They've had those hero moments, and that is what I think if it's going to do any damage, that's going to be what stops Black Dragons getting this over the line.
So much vertical work being done here, but not really paying any dividends. Yes, it's making it difficult for the defenders to play where they want to, but with 30 seconds left to go, NIP have got 5 left alive, all on full health. So it is going to be a classic clubhouse basement bloodbath in the final 20 seconds here, which is what we are rapidly heading towards. Here comes the utility, and here comes the Black Dragons. Muzi manages to find Wizard with a nade. We've got the blitz inside a side as well. Rare just dancing at the minute, trying to find a position to make something happen. Flashtree has diffuser in hand, kills are coming in, and they are all going towards Black Dragons until Hates manages to stop it. 2 versus 2, diffusers down cold, and there's nothing Black Dragons can do. They made more of a dent onto site than maybe they have throughout this entire game, but they still weren't able to get a successful plant.
They figured out step 1, Tim. They got players in the right positions. They were pushing in, ready to go. And then they all froze. Stood still, barely moved. I think the big thing that impeded them was Rare couldn't charge forward on the blitz because of a goo mine. We spoke about it. So many drones are down. You should know where all these gadgets are. If you're going to drop and push in, for example, down main stairs and stepping through Ash Rush wall, surely you're droning that out to check if there are any goo mines there ready to impede your blitz, because once he was stuck with that goo mine in his foot, he was running nowhere, and the whole thing just ground to a halt. Outside of that, Black Dragons, it was all in their control, and they've given that round away to NIP, who, to be fair to them, have defended very well there under a lot of pressure. They're up to 7 and 6, and Black Dragons, they've got to be kicking themselves that they've let a 5-1 become this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's not just that they've let a 5-1 become this. They had opportunities. They had opportunities to close it out. That's going to be the thing that they remember if they lose this, is that it definitely could have been done. They were 6-2 up, not just 5-1. They were 6-2 up. They had 4 rounds back to back. They had man advantage in 2 of those rounds. 2 of those 4, they were in, I think, a 5v3 and a 3v2 at a point, and still weren't able to lock it out. So definite questions for them to answer. But let's get back into it. Round 14. We're going to head into action phase is underway. Black Dragons, unsurprisingly, have chosen to take the basement for their defence. And we're going to see they've got a heavy top floor presence again, just like they did last time. I was really impressed with their top floor roam last time around when we saw them defending this site. And we've got Hornet, we've got Muzi, we've got Machina all up there looking to stretch NIP and force them to waste time.
Okay. Do we think they can make this attack work, Tim?
I mean, history suggests not.
Do you believe they can?
I do not.
I see and understand. They've got the tools for the job, admittedly. Like, again, leaning in towards a Dockerby and a Blitz, I think is a brilliant combo. I love these little pairings of operators you can form, Deimos Dockerby, Dockerby Lion, Dockerby Blitz, Dockerby and anyone, really. I just think she's a fantastic operator, very oppressive in the right hands, and when teams know how to play around her, this is where you want Cons at this moment now to really be in a spot to charge forward and capitalize on the information, but he's still outside and very, very far away. So, and now Hates has gone down, which means they probably lose out on the second Dockerby call, which is not the way you meant to play this operator.
Oh, no, this is looking good. Fantasy manages to pick up Muzi. Flashtree is there with the kill onto Wizard. 4 versus 3 effectively, though, as Machina is down, and they don't want to risk going for the collection. At the moment, Cons does manage to finish that off, so 4 versus 3 now. NIP have got an opportunity here if they just don't ignore the basics. It was the default breaches, it was the basics that cost them last time around. This time, they're doing a better job. Hornet does manage to pick up the shield, but the damage might be done. 3 versus 2.
Is it going to be enough? That's the big question. It looks like it might be. Flashtree has been here before, Tim. Admittedly, he was on a smoke. It was a very different situation to be in. Now there's 3 players bearing down on him. 6 drones to their name. 4 flashes, frags, you name it. They can do all they need to here. I guess considering there's a couple of go canisters down, it could... 40 seconds to go. Like, that is more than enough time for NIP to get this one done.
If there was 15 seconds left, then yeah, I'd be saying this is doable for Flashtree. But honestly, I think given the amount of time, they're going to know exactly where he is. They can push from multiple angles. We're starting to see a bit of pressure mounting. Are they coming from dirt? Are they coming from Moto? Where are they going to work from? I'm just a little bit concerned, though. As I said that, we're now down to 15 seconds, and NIP have left a lot of time. Flashtree manages to pick up 1, but they know where he is. And as you say, it's just going to take a graze from 1 bullet to be able to pick him up. They're just going to go for the plant. This is smart play from NIP. I said they needed to make sure they were doing the basics. They've done them. They've gone in there. They've started putting the diffuser down. Pino's then on the cover, picks up the final kill, and NIP finally get themselves over the line in what was a comeback from 6-2 down.